Hello, fellow book readers. My name is John, and today I want to rank the entire SJM universe. I think I have a unique perspective on this because these books were clearly not written for me. Yeah, I'm just not the target audience for most of these books, especially the ACOTAR books, for sure. Like, I think the other two series you could say are written more for everybody than ACOTAR is, but that's besides the point, because I can read any subgenre of fantasy and find enjoyment in it. But I want to rank them all because last summer I read Throne of Glass in June and July of 2024, which I really, really enjoyed. And then earlier this year I read ACOTAR. And then this month, in August, because I'm not sure when I'm going to put this video out, in August, I read, August 2025, I read the entire Crescent City series. So I think now is as good a time as any to rank them 16-1. I've seen people do this, but I haven't seen any men rank them 16-1. So I think I might offer a bit more of a unique perspective into things. And before I begin, there will be spoilers in this. When I talk about these books, I'm just not very good at talking about books without spoilers. So if you haven't read these books, I'll put timestamps down below for like which books I'm going to talk about, so you can skip around. And, these are just going to be sort of like mini reviews, because I do plan on eventually releasing longer reviews for each of these books. And actually, a lot of the books that I've read over the past year and a half, because I've read like over 150 books, and fantasy books, and I want to kind of talk about them all at some point individually. But for today, we're just going to do some rankings. So starting with number 16 is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I don't own the physical copy of this book. I actually don't own the physical copy of any of the ACOTAR books. I read them all on my Kindle. I gave this book 3 stars when I was finished reading it. This is the only book in the entire SJM universe that I considered giving under 3 stars when I was finished with it. I ended up giving it 3, which for me, 3 stars means it's a good book. I think this is a good book, but if I were to rank it today, I would probably give it 2.5 stars. But that's months later, and I don't like to do that. I like to stick with what I originally gave a book, so I'm not going to go back and re-rate it. Yeah, so I think the strengths of this book is the pacing. The pacing is really good. It's really well paced. It's very quick, but it's not like too quick where you're not picking things up. I think it's paced just right. The theming, this is one of the books that Sarah, the theming is love, and Sarah does a really good job with that. I think there's 3 books in her universe where the overall theme is very much love is the victor, and this is one of them. I do think this is the worst of the 3, but I still think the theming is very good. The world building, I think the world building is good in this. It's not great. It's a lot better in the rest of the series, but it's still, very good. And I think the side characters are pretty darn good here. Now, the things that drag this book down for me is I do think that the main characters, I think this is her worst book in terms of main characterization. Farah is, and I think that's how you say her name, Farah is just sort of like an insert yourself here character. She's like kind of like Harry from Harry Potter in that role. Like, she doesn't have much of a unique personality or any real characterization. She does get them in the books that are coming up after this, but in this book she just doesn't really have much. And I think Tamlin's fine, but he's not great. I think the characters that really stand out are Lucian, the Suriel, and the maid. But they're all, side characters. They're major side characters, but they're still side characters. And the other main character is Rysand, who I absolutely hated in this book. He was awful. There was a scene under the cave where he pokes Farah in her broken wrist, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. He explains it later, but I don't think the explanation suits what happens. It seems really terrible. He's an awful person in this book, pretty much, even though you're really supposed to root for him by the end. And the plot-wise, there just isn't a whole lot there to attach yourself to. It's not great. The slice of life stuff that you get in the Spring Court is actually pretty good, but it's not amazing. The Farah family drama is okay, but it's really hard to root for her family. They're just awful people. And then the stuff under the mountain, I don't think is all that great or interesting. I think the worm fight was pretty good, but the other 2 tasks were blah. And Amarantha, I think she's the best ACOTAR villain, but that's not saying a lot. She's down the list on the SJM villain tier for me. Like, she's worse than every Throne of Glass villain and every Crescent City villain. Okay, and at number 15 is another 3-star entry. It's A Court of Frost and Starlight. I like this one a lot more than I like that guitar. I never even considered giving this one under 3 stars. This is the short, like, little Christmas novella that acts as, like, the 4th book in the ACOTAR universe. It's lovely. It's exactly what I wanted. It's a nice, cozy Christmas story. I love the holiday season. I love the holidays, and this book filled that role perfect. And, you know, almost the entire book takes place in Valeris, which I think is SJM Sarah's best setting in any of her books. Valeris rules, and I think, you know, it's awesome in this book as well. I love the gift exchange scene. I love the snowball fight scene. I love Farah, like, the whole painting arc that she's going on in this book. If there is any negative, it's just that there's no real plot, and I think the Nesta scenes are a bit strange and shouldn't be there. I understand the purpose of them. They're there to set up A Court of Silver Flames, the next book, but I don't think they needed to be in this novella. Like, this novella is good vibes, and then you get the Nesta chapters, which are, like, not good vibes at all. So keep that in mind when reading it, but it's short, inoffensive, and I think it's good. If you like the Christmas season, you should definitely read this. Okay, and our last 3-star book, which again for me is a good book, so I thought both of the prior entries were good. The last 3-star book for me at number 14 is Crown of Midnight, which is my least favorite Throne of Glass book. I still think it's good. The second half of this book is actually great. The second half of this book's easy 4 stars. But the problem with this book is the plot is a bit directionless. There just really isn't much of a plot until 50% of the way through the book, which is a struggle for me a bit here. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some great scenes in the first half. You get a lot of slice of life stuff with Selena and Chow, or his actual name is KL, but I didn't listen to the audiobooks, so I call him Chow. Especially the scene where they dance. The dancing scene, I think, is wonderful. It's fabulous. It's great. It's one of the best scenes in the book. But again, there just isn't much plot in the first half of the book. Where Throne of Glass sets up their plot, the first book of the series sets up their plot all within the first 100 pages, all 3 arcs, all 3 like plot points. This book doesn't. Like, you're given, like, Selena has to commit an assassination against this guy called Archer in 30 days, and then there's this riddle that Selena's trying to figure out. But the thing is, Selena's not actively trying to do any of those 2 things. She's just kind of living her life, and there's really no plot progression in the first 50% of the book. And then Nehemia dies, and that's batshit crazy. Didn't expect that. It was wild, and I think it was the right call. And the plot really takes off from there. In the last 50% of this book, you'll fly through, like, really, really quickly. It's really good with 2 great twists at the end. Now, the second one, that Selena is actually Aelin Galathynius, the lost princess of Terrasen, you're going to see that one coming from a mile away. But the other one, the Fae one, you might not see coming if you're not familiar with her work. Either way, even if you know they're coming, the reveals are very good. Like, I was spoiled on the Selena. It's the only spoiler I got reading the series was that Selena was actually Aelin. So I knew that one coming, and I still thought that scene was really good where it's revealed. Okay, number 13, we got A Court of Wings and Ruin. Now, this book is a 3.5-star book. The next 5 books actually are 3.5-star books. And those are very good books for me. They just have a couple things that keep them from getting into the great tier. I think this book's very good. It has a lot of great, memorable scenes. Some of my favorite scenes in the entire ACOTAR series come in this book. I mean, you got the scene where Farah and Lucian escape the Spring Court. I think that entire chase is wonderfully written, very good. You got the meeting between all the, like, the Fade Lords. I think it takes place in the Dawn Court, but it might be the Day Court. I can't exactly remember. That scene rules. That's a great chapter. Must read. There's so many, like, still mysteries revolving around that chapter that haven't been revealed yet, especially about more. The Lane Rescue chapter is really tense, really good. I think the meeting in the Mortal Lands is filled with emotion, and sort of, like, you get the sense of how these mortals are not, like, the best people either. I think it's a really great scene. You get the scene where Rysand and presents Farah as the High Lady of the Night Court to the Court of Nightmares. Awesome scene. Love that scene. So, like, those 5 scenes alone are just fabulous. And there's a lot of others that are great. I'm just skimming the surface here. But the climax is just not good. I kind of hated the climax. And I know Sarah knows how to write action because I've seen her do it well before. So it's not that she doesn't know how to write it, just she did not do a good job of it this time. And some of her decisions here were strange. Going into that final battle, you can never buy that the King of Hybern ever had any chance. There was just too much went right for the protagonists before the final battle. It was like, okay, this is overkill. And then during the final battle, you had 2 fake out deaths, the Amaran fake out death and the Ryzan fake out death. I don't think either of them should have been fake out deaths. It cheapened the plot, in my opinion. I think Amaran should have just stayed dead, and her sacrifice would have meant a ton. Like, I love Amaran. She's a great character. One of my favorites in the series. But I think she should have stayed dead here. And then you got the Ryzan's fake out death, which, that shouldn't have even happened. That was lame. Especially because they already did the Amaran one before that. Maybe if you didn't do the Amaran one, you could do the Ryzan one, but I wouldn't have done either. And then you got the fact that Sarah just couldn't decide who killed the King of Hybern. Like, it was clear that Elaine killed the king, right? But then Farah, chops off his head at the end or something. So, but he was already dying when Elaine... He was already dying after Elaine killed him. But then Nesta's taking credit for killing him. It's like, why? It was like Sarah couldn't decide who she wanted to kill the king, so she wanted to give them both credit. And that doesn't really work for me because it was clear that Elaine killed him, and I thought it kind of cheaped in the end a little bit too. So yeah, I didn't love the end of this book. The end of this book to me is like a 2-star end, maybe even like a 1.5. The end of this book is, I don't think, very good at all. Though everybody was where they should be at the end. I just didn't like the journey of how the end took place, if that makes sense. Okay, number 12, we got The Assassin's Blade, which is the collection of 5 novellas that act as a prequel to the first book in the Throne of Glass series. You follow, I think, 16-year-old Selena. I think she turned 17 during the events of the story. I forget exactly. But as an assassin leading into the events that take you up to the beginning of Throne of Glass. I love 4 of these novellas. 4 of these novellas are awesome, and this would easily be a 4-star book for me if they all delivered. But the first novella, The Assassin and the Pirate Lord, is actually my least favorite bit of Sarah J. Maas' writing. I do not like that novella at all. I just don't find the characters to be good. Well, actually, that's not true. I think Sam's a very good character in that novella, but I don't think Selena is a good character at all in that novella. And I understand that was intentional. You're not supposed to like Selena in that novella, because she's, Selena. And I'm somebody who actually likes Aelin and Selena. If you watch my top 10 favorite fantasy characters list, you'll see Aelin is number 2. So I really love Aelin and Selena, but I did not like her in this novella at all. She's very hard to read. It's very hard to get through. Thankfully, it's somewhat short, but it's not short enough, in my opinion. Yes, and this is also why I don't recommend reading The Assassin's Blade first. I think if you're going to read that novella first, you're going to probably DNF it. So, luckily, I read it third. That's when I read The Assassin's Blade, so it didn't bother me that much. I was able to power through it. But yeah, this is still a very, very good collection. The Assassin in the Desert is one of my favorite novellas I've ever read. Maybe even my favorite novella I've ever read. So yeah, awesome. And then, the end will make you cry even if you know it's coming. So just really good stuff. And you should never skip this because almost every novella has something that comes back into play later on in the series. So it's must read. It's not a skippable thing. It is actually like a book that you have to read if you read the series. And then at number 11, we got House of Sky and Breath, the second Crescent City book. Again, I love this book. I love a lot of stuff in this book. There's so many great scenes in this book. I love the world building here. The world building is the best part of Crescent City, and in this book, it's top tier. You get all the different connections, but they're not just given to you. It feels earned when you read it. I love the Lydia and Rune storyline in this book. I think they rule as characters. I really enjoyed that storyline here. I think there's a lot of good action scenes in this book. Bryce and Hunt in the Bone Quarter. That action scene was awesome. I loved the astronomer storyline that went on in this book. I thought Ethan was fine. He wasn't amazing, but he was okay. I really love the prologue. It set up sort of like a spy thriller type theme to it. It was pretty darn good. I thought this book set up a really good antagonist. The Asteri are really, really good. They're stronger than any of the Akhtar antagonists, in my opinion. Not quite up to some of the Throne of Glass antagonist standards, but still very, very good antagonists. So I really like that. I thought the end was very good. It wasn't quite the level of Crescent City 1 end, because that's the best end she's ever written, probably. But it was still very good. And the cliffhangers probably her second best cliffhanger she's ever written. So there's that. And I really like the Cormac storyline. The Cormac storyline did two things for me. It set up the Fae Kings as like super evil bastards, which was exactly what I wanted. Because I knew they were not to be trusted in the first book, but we didn't really see too much of them. And this Cormac storyline really hammered it home, even without seeing them. So yeah, I loved that about the Cormac storyline. I thought Cormac was like a very interesting sort of grayish character. He wasn't too gray, but he was grayish. So that was awesome. And I really liked that it set up the rebels as maybe they're not all good. Maybe all the humans aren't good in this storyline, which I thought really worked. So yeah, there's a lot I liked about this book. Now let's talk about some of the stuff I didn't like. I hated that they gave Danica more secrets from Bryce in this book. It soured their friendship even. I didn't think the first book soured their friendship at all. I think the first book, those secrets actually worked really, really well. I didn't want more, though. And this book gave us more, and it soured the friendship quite a bit, in my opinion. The Tharian chapters, they are just a bore. I wanted to fall asleep and skip them at the same time. Like, they were so boring. So those two things alone drag the book down to the 3.5 stars, in my opinion. But there's some other like small grievances I have. I did think the book felt a bit sci-fi-y at times, which I don't have a problem with. It's not a big negative, but it was a little weird. And I didn't really love the let's find this Thunderbird brother plotline. Luckily, it wasn't like a gigantic. It was like the main plot of like the threads that tie the action scenes and other scenes together. But it wasn't like a giant focus, if that makes sense. It didn't really land for me as well as it wanted to. But I still think this book's very good. Definitely must read, for sure. Okay, number 10, we have A Court of Silver Flames. This is the only ACOTAR book I considered giving 4 stars to when I was done. I think plot-wise, it's the best ACOTAR book. I think it also takes advantage of Sarah's best strength as a writer, which is her ability to write trauma and healing. I think she writes trauma and healing almost better than any author I've ever seen. She's great at it, like beyond good, great at writing trauma and healing. And I say this as somebody who hated Nesta coming into this book. I hated her. She was my least favorite character in the series. And by the end of this book, I loved Nesta. So take that for what it's worth. But my problem is there's just too much smut here. Like, they're just too much. It feels... And again, I get that that's not going to be a negative for most people that are reading the series because that's what they want. So that's kind of who the series is targeted. So I understand that. But for me, it made me want to... I did skim most of those scenes. So basically all. So it was just like I was skimming chapters and that felt wrong on a lot of levels. And to explain that farther, this book has way more smut than any of the other ACOTAR books. Like, you could combine all the other ACOTAR books and this book still has like 3 times the amount of smut scenes than the other books do. It did feel a bit out of place to me. But again, it worked for most people that read this book, I'm sure. So I am not the target audience, but for me, it did drag the book down a bit. My only other problem is I think Rysand doesn't act like Rysand at all in this book. He's just a lot meaner, makes decisions that Rysand wouldn't make. So I didn't love that part. But the plot itself, the Nesta, Cassian, and the Valkyrie sort of like Hunger Games plot, I thought that all worked. I thought the antagonist was good too. Probably the second best ACOTAR antagonist. Way better than the King of Hybern. So yeah, this book gets 3.5 stars from me because of that, but this is the only ACOTAR book I consider giving 4 stars to. However, I don't think it's my favorite ACOTAR book because of the reasons that I said. My favorite would be number 9, which is A Court of Mist and Fury. And that's mainly because of the Valaris slice of life stuff. The Valaris slice of life stuff in this book is so good. Like almost every scene that takes place in Valaris, where it's just, and I'm not even talking about the relationship stuff, I'm just talking about the setting itself and like the friendships that are taking place in the setting and like the daily life that's going on in this setting. I think rules. It's 5 stars, easy. I think the rest of the book isn't, very good, but that stuff, which is the main crux of this book, I think rules. And I do think that the Tamlin sort of character assassination actually kind of works, and it's not done in a way that it felt wrong, if that makes sense. It felt right, which I think was hard to do after book 1 because, Tamlin was a genuinely rootable, good person in book 1. Now, my main problem with this book that drags it down, just like A Court of Wings and Ruin, I think the ending is terrible. Like, I do not like the end of this book at all. I think Elaine and Nesta being involved in it is perfect. It's great motivation. It's great tension for Farah, our protagonist. But I don't think what actually happens to them is like makes sense in the plot. Like, oh no, it's so terrible. The king just made my sisters immortal, beautiful, and magical. This is awful. No. Like, no, I don't buy this at all. I just don't buy it. Sorry. And this sounds like a huge criticism, but like I said, the middle of this book, the slice of life stuff is so perfect. So yeah, that's where I am with this book. It's a 3.5-star book. It's very good, mainly because I think the highlight of this series is the slice of life, the hilarious stuff that happens. But the end of this book is blah. Okay, number 8, House of Flame and Shadows. This is the third and final Crescent City book. There probably will be spin-offs with focusing on some other characters, but this is the end of the Bryce Hunt arc. I thought this was very good. I see this book get crapped on online a lot. Not like spoilerly, but like I just see people do not like this book. I liked it. I thought this is the first 4-star book in my rating system, which is a great book. So yeah, I really like this book. Again, the world building, top tier in this one. I thought the end was very satisfying. I did think that the stuff in Avalon was amazing. I think it's like the best sequence of events in the series with the Fey Kings and how that whole thing wraps up. I love that part. I think Lydia has the best arc in the book. I think she has the best arc in the series in this book. I love that, she's probably a Galathinius. I thought that was a great reveal. Really awesome. Yeah, there wasn't much to hate here. I did think that the Tharian chapters continued to be a bit boring, and I did think that the Ethan plotline kind of made a sharp left-hand turn, and I didn't love the way that thing came together with him killing the Fender heir. But I did like when he killed Sabine. So I liked the climax of it. I just didn't like how he got there. It felt like Sarah changed her mind on where that plot was going into this book. Didn't feel like that was properly foreshadowed. And I did think the dragon would play more of a role in this book. I thought maybe they would join the antagonist to give them more of a chance, but that didn't happen. I also really liked the Jasiba Hypaxia plotline. I thought there was a lot of good reveals there, a lot of good world building, a lot of good lore. I liked that Celestina made another appearance. I liked the Bone Quarter resolution. That was all great. This book's great for me. 4 stars. And again, I think the end really works. It was exactly what I wanted the end to be. Did I ever feel like the antagonist had a chance? No. It did feel a bit like Wings in Ruin, where the protagonist had too much going for them towards the end. But that didn't bother me as much in this one because I did think the end was just better. Like, it delivered on what it wanted to do. Okay, the next 3 books are all 4 stars, and these are 3 books that I really struggle to rank. They can be flip-flopped almost any day of the week. But how I'm feeling today is, at number 7, Empire of Storms. 4 stars for me. Great book. This is the best cliffhanger she's ever written, for sure. The end of this book will make you cry. It made me cry. So maybe it won't make you cry, but it did make me cry. This has the best action of any Sarah J. Maas book. The action scenes in this are wonderful. This book is like fast-paced, quick action beats almost throughout it, and they all work. They're all good. They're all really well done. Don't get me wrong. There's a ton of great character work in here. The Aelin Rowan character work here is really good. The Dorian plotline continues to advance. I think the Lysandra plotline here is really, really good. I think there's some great allied plot work in here. I think the Manon plot work in here with her grandmother and that whole reveal that she's actually Kraken, I don't know how to say that actually, is really, really great. So the only reason this isn't, in the 5-star or even the 4.5-star range, I do think the Lurkin allied chapters kind of drag, and I do think they don't fit well with the pace of the rest of the book, and I don't love them, especially the circus arc. The circus arc should have just been cut, in my opinion. I don't like the circus arc at all. But the rest of this book delivers on basically everything. And there's a lot of great twists in here. And again, the cliffhanger. Oh, this cliffhanger is insane. Number 6 is also 4 stars. Throne of Glass. This is the first book in the Throne of Glass series, obviously. It's most people's, I think, least favorite book in the Throne of Glass series. For me, I really like it a lot. I think it's great. And why I think it's great is I think plot structure-wise, this is maybe the best book she's ever written, or one of the best. You get introduced to 3 plot points very early on in the book, all within the first 100 pages. The King's Tournament's introduced in the first 30 pages. I think the love triangle, you realize it's happening in the first 50 to 60 pages. And then the murder mystery happens in the first 100 pages. And they all wrap up in a very satisfying way at the end of the book. So this book can almost act as a standalone. I really like the plot structure of this book. I think the plot structure of this book is just very, very good. And then the characters. I think, she doesn't throw that many point of view characters at you. She gives you 3, and then she gives you one side character who isn't a point of view character, but is clearly a main character in Nehemia. And I think all 4 of those characters get really good character development in this book. She doesn't spread herself too thin, and she does it all in a very short time span. This book's exactly 400 pages, I think, or something like that. So yeah, this book I think just works really well. I like the ending. It does read very young adult, very, very young adult. It's not middle grade, but I would compare it to Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban style, vibes writing, which I consider young adult. That's how I would consider this Throne of Glass book. And really the first 3 Throne of Glass books lead like that, and then it turns into more older young adult or even new adult later on in the series. Okay, number 5 is my last 4-star book in the 4-star rankings. Number 5 would be Tower of Dawn. A lot of people hate Tower of Dawn. It's their least favorite Throne of Glass book. I like Tower of Dawn, but I also am somebody that doesn't hate Chow. So there's that. But again, I think this book takes advantage of Sarah's best strength as a writer, her ability to write trauma and healing. And this book, there's a great trauma healing storyline, not just for Chow, but also for Yrene at the same time. Really rules. There's some great reveals in this book. Maeve being a Valg is done really well. That reveal is awesome. And I think the pacing in here is awesome. It's kind of slow, but it's not bad slow, if that makes sense. It's the right slow. It's the calm before the storm. It's a great setup book. And I think the end's really good. It sets up everybody where they need to be. It's perfect in that way. So why isn't it higher than 4 stars? Why isn't it more than just a great book? Why isn't it a perfect book? Well, I do think the Nezran chapters, especially early on, are not that interesting, that exciting. I always want to get back to Chow and Yrene. Once Nezran and Sartak take off for the mountains, that storyline is great. But the first half of the book, she doesn't really do much that I find to be interesting. But everything else that's happening in this book is great. Okay, number 4 is my first 4.5-star book. Actually, the only 4.5-star book is House of Earth and Blood, which is the first Crescent City book. This is the best end she's ever written. The last 200 pages of this book are wild. They're easy 5 stars. And I think the first 100 pages is pretty easily 4.5, 5 stars too. The climax of this book is just wild. It's insane. So much stuff happens, and it's all good. It's all jaw-dropping. It's all really well written. I think the first 100 pages setting up this sort of murder mystery and has a shocking turn where Danica dies you probably won't see coming. It's really great, really well written. I think the middle of this book, the middle 500 pages, I don't think they're bad, but they're nothing more than just good. They do drag a little bit. Drag's probably the wrong word, but they are slower and it's not as interesting. It doesn't help that I don't think Hunt and Bryce are amazing characters. They're one of Sarah's weaker main character pairings. Not pairings, just characters in general. But I think the side characters all are awesome. The little fire sprite, easily my favorite character in this book. Awesome character. Not in it as much as you want, but she's very good. And, I think Rune is very good. And a couple other characters really help the storyline. And I do think again, the antagonists are pretty solid. And it's just well written. It is quite long. I do think it could have been maybe 100 pages shorter, but still 4.5. It's near perfect for me just because of the end and the beginning. Okay, at number 3, we get our first 5-star book, Kingdom of Ash. It's a big book. But it's everything I wanted it to be. It has sort of this dark gloominess over the entire book, but I think it really works. And that bothers some people. I know it does, but for me, it didn't bother me at all. I thought it was exactly what it should have been. And you get these little rays of hope throughout the book, these sort of serene moments, and those are so beautiful when you get them. But every character goes through trauma in this book. Every character: Aelin, Rowan, Dorian, Lysandra, Aedion. The list goes on and on and on and on. It's Fenris, the list, Lorcan, Allied. They all go through a ton of trauma in this book. And I think that really works. I think that's what the plotline is. Now, I know some people don't love the end of this book, but this end was everything that it needed to be. It was if you expected anything different, I know some people wanted Selena or Dorian to die, or even both of them to die, but that was never going to happen. This book series is not that. And like I said, it's for a younger audience. Like, that was never going to happen in this book, and I don't think it should have happened. I would have been disappointed if it did happen. That's not what this story was about. It was never what it was about. So yeah, I actually think the end was perfect. I love the end of this book. I think the epilogue is like one of my favorite epilogues I've ever read. It's only like 2 pages, but it's great with the King's Flame blooming. This is one of the other. I should have mentioned this when I talked about Crescent City. Like I said, there was 3 books. Akatar being 1, A Court of Thorns and Roses, Crescent City 1, House of Earth and Blood, and then this book where the overarching theme is that love wins. Love is the victor. Sort of like the Deathly Hallows in Harry Potter. And I thought it was done really well in this book. Really, really well. Really well. I also thought it was really done well in Crescent City 1. Number 2, we got Queen of Shadows. I think this is objectively the best book she's ever written. It's not number 1 because it's not my favorite, but objectively, if I was like to look at things objectively, I think this is the best book she's ever written. The pacing is just done really well. It's big, but it's not like too big of a book. It has great action, great character work, great emotion, great theming, great pacing. Everything you want about this book, it delivers on every aspect. It almost feels like 2 books, even though because the end of part 1 could have been the climax to like its own book. This book's amazing. It's great from front to back, and I gave it 5 stars, so obviously I think it's perfect. Love this book. Love everything about it. It also has my favorite bit of Sarah J. Maas prose. Now, she's not known for her prose, and I'm not going to sit here and like say her prose is amazing because it's not. But it does have my favorite bit of prose where Aelin and Dorian join hands at the end of the book, and I think it's like they joined hands, so the world ended, and the next one began. And it's written in 3 like quick lines. I love the way that was written. So good. That whole page actually is written so well. Yeah, love this book. Love the twists and turns. And the Madden storyline in this book is top tier amazing. Madden and Allied storyline. So doesn't get talked about enough. And number 1, if you've been paying attention, I have talked about how much I thought that Sarah's strength as a writer was her ability to write trauma and healing, and that's never been more apparent than in Heir of Fire. The trauma and healing storyline in this is second to none I've ever read. The Aelin Rowan healing storyline is just so good. Does it take a while to get going? Maybe. For me, it did. For me, it was awesome from moment 1. I love the storyline in this book. I love the flashbacks we get to young Aelin that while she's fighting the Valg, and then we get like that dream sequence with everybody telling her to get up, and then she rises as Aelin. That was written so well. So well. You have the beach scene where she's crying. That's so good. The Maeve scene has the coldest line in the series where Maeve's like, it's stone. She's like, your people are. And coldest line in the series by far. The cliffhanger in Rifthold with Chal, Dorian, Adian, that climax was nuts. I actually liked the entire Rifthold part of this book. I thought especially the Adian and Chal parts, those 2 dynamic worked really well together. And I like the Madden parts. The Madden parts are definitely the weakest of the book, but I see some people say you should skip them, or they hate them, or they want to skip them. And it's like, no, don't. They're still pretty good in this book. This is a 5-star book for me. It's my favorite book in her series, in her universe, and it's definitely my favorite book in the Throne of Glass series. Oh, that is my list. Like I said, I think I bring a kind of unique perspective because these books mostly aren't targeted for me. I do think Throne of Glass can be read by anybody, and Crescent City to a lesser extent, but definitely the same. Akatar, definitely not targeted towards me at all, but I can find enjoyment in anything if I look hard enough. So let's go through it all. 16-1. Number 16, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Number 15, A Court of Frost and Starlight. Number 14, Crown of Midnight. Number 13, A Court of Wings and Ruin. Number 12, The Assassin's Blade. Number 11, House of Sky and Breath. Number 10, A Court of Silver Flames. Number 9, A Court of Mist and Fury. Number 8, House of Flame and Shadow. Number 7, Empire of Storms. Number 6, Throne of Glass. Number 5, Tower of Dawn. Number 4, House of Earth and Blood. Number 3, Kingdom of Ash. Number 2, Queen of Shadows. Number 1, Heir of Fire. I know this, the list is Throne of Glass top heavy, but I love Throne of Glass. It's one of my favorite series I've ever read, just period. So it was always bound to be that way. But let me know down below if you agree, disagree, what your rankings are. I'm interested in it all. Like I said, there wasn't a single bad book in this one. The only one that I thought about giving under 3 stars to was A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book in the series. So yeah, this was fun. Thanks for watching.